In the remote foothills of Montana's Bitterroot Range, where civilization gives way to wilderness, a simple mistake was about to trigger a sequence of events that would expose a deadly criminal operation and remind everyone why you should think twice before stealing a man's dog. The bandits who crossed onto Wesley "Ghost Eye" Anderson's property that moonless October night thought they were just sending a message to a stubborn farmer who refused to let them use his land. They had no idea they were about to steal a dog whose tracking abilities had helped take down some of the most dangerous targets across 3 continents. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The Germanic short-haired pointer named Scout wasn't just another farm dog. His scent-tracking abilities were so exceptional that even elite military units had tried to recruit him for their programs. But Wesley had kept Scout's true capabilities, hidden behind the simple facade of a hunting companion. By the time dawn broke over the Bitterroot Valley, their encounter would set off a chain reaction that would uncover the largest weapons trafficking operation in the Northwest and transform a quiet Montana homestead into a hunting ground where the prey became the hunters. Frost crystals crunched under Wesley Anderson's boots as he made his early morning rounds of his 800-acre property. His weathered Remington 700 hung comfortably across his back, a habit he'd maintained since returning from his days as a Marine Corps scout sniper. Scout moved silently beside him, the dog's muscular frame belying his graceful efficiency. Even in retirement, they maintained the synchronized movement patterns that had kept them alive through countless high-stakes operations in places whose coordinates never appeared on official maps. The distant lights of Hamilton glowed faintly through the pre-dawn mist, a small reminder of civilization amid the vast wilderness. Wesley hadn't planned to head into town today. Something about the recent changes in the local hunting patrol had raised his instincts. But Scout needed his specialized feed, and their monthly supply was running low. The morning air carried the crisp scent of pine and wood smoke, familiar comfort scents that usually brought peace. Today, though, something felt different. The land itself seemed to hold its breath. As he drove, his trained eye caught details others might miss. 3 unfamiliar trucks parked at the old lumber mill, unusual for this hour. A cluster of men in tactical gear moving with military precision along the abandoned railroad tracks. And most notably, someone had disturbed his carefully placed marker stones along the property line. Scout's posture shifted subtly to anyone, else he looked like a calm hunting dog, but Wesley knew better. The dog had detected something that didn't fit the normal pattern of their quiet mountain community. "I see them too, boy," he whispered, noting how the men tracked his truck's movement through polarized glasses. Their gear marked them as professionals, but their bearing spoke of something more dangerous, former military who'd found better paying work with less legal restrictions. The town's main street was just waking up as Wesley pulled into Carter's Feed and Supply. Old Jim Carter sat in his usual spot, his face creasing with concern as Wesley approached. "Watch yourself today, Wes," Jim murmured, his eyes tracking the suspicious vehicles that had followed Wesley's truck at a distance. "New faces in town have been asking questions about the local properties, especially yours." Inside the store, Martha Carter looked up from her inventory sheets, her usual warm smile tight with worry. "Wesley," she called out, moving to gather Scout's special food order. "Your timing's good. Was about to call you anyway. Had some strangers in here yesterday asking about your place. Said they were interested in buying land, but—" She shook her head meaningfully. Scout's ears suddenly pricked forward, his body tensing slightly as the store's bell chimed. 2 men entered, their casual hunting clothes failing to hide their military bearing. Wesley recognized the look. He'd seen it countless times during his deployments. These weren't ordinary hunters. They moved with the calculated precision of trained operators. "Fine-looking pointer," one man commented, his accent placing him as West Coast urban rather than local Montana. "German Shorthair, right? Expensive breed for a farm dog." His eyes held the cold calculation of someone assessing a target, gathering intelligence. Scout maintained his calm demeanor, but Wesley felt the subtle shift in the dog's muscles, ready to switch from hunting companion to combat tracker in a heartbeat. These men weren't here by accident. The recent increase in illegal weapons moving through the region had raised concerns among local law enforcement, and Wesley's property sat on a perfect transit route between major highways. "Just a hunting dog," Wesley replied easily, though. His mind was already processing tactical options. Martha's store had 2 exits, multiple blind spots, and enough cover to handle any immediate threats. Some habits never died, even after years of retirement, good with birds. The second man's hand drifted casually toward his waistband. Not a threat, not yet, but a reminder that they were armed. Must be hard handling such a big property alone. Lots of people would be interested in helping out, providing security, maybe using some of that empty land. Wesley kept his posture relaxed, playing the role of a simple farmer, but his mind was already connecting the dots: the increased law enforcement presence, the professional operators in town, the subtle threats. Something big was coming, and somehow his quiet retirement was about to become anything but peaceful. The drive back to the Anderson homestead took longer than usual as Wesley deliberately varied his route, an old habit from his operational days. Scout remained vigilant in the passenger seat, his attention shifting between potential observation points along the dusty mountain roads. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Montana landscape, perfect cover for anyone watching there. Movement, Martha's warning echoed in his mind as he pulled up to his property's main gate. The bandits' interest in his land wasn't random. Nothing ever was in these remote areas. Deputy Rachel Sullivan, one of the few local law enforcement officers he trusted, had mentioned increased activity in the sector during their last conversation. "They're pushing new routes," she'd said, her voice carrying the weight of someone who'd seen too much criminal activity in her jurisdiction. "Your property sits right where they want to be." Wesley parked near the barn, his eyes automatically scanning the perimeter. Everything looked normal. The cattle grazed peacefully in the south pasture, wind chimes moved lazily on the porch, and morning light caught the solar panels that powered his security system. But normal could be deceptive. He'd learned that lesson the hard way in too many combat zones. "Hold," he commanded softly as Scout prepared to exit the truck. The dog instantly froze, years of training evident in his perfect stillness. Wesley studied the ground near the barn's entrance. Subtle signs of recent activity caught his attention. Boot prints that weren't his, cigarette ash that still carried a trace of warmth, and most tellingly, the security camera above the barn door was tilted slightly off its usual angle. "They've been here, boy," he murmured, reaching beneath his seat for the encrypted satellite phone he'd hoped never to use again. Scout's muscles tensed in response, the dog's combat training surfacing beneath his hunting dog demeanor. Before Wesley could dial, his regular cell phone buzzed. A text from Deputy Sullivan: "Need to talk. Miller's Diner, 30 minutes. Critical." The diner sat on the outskirts of Hamilton, far enough from the usual law enforcement haunts to avoid, and wanted attention. Rachel Sullivan was already there when Wesley arrived, her unmarked vehicle parked behind the building. She'd chosen a booth with clear sightlines to all exits, another habit that marked her as someone who understood real danger. "You've got serious trouble brewing," she said without preamble as Wesley slid into the booth, Scout taking his practiced position under the table. "These aren't your typical bandits moving through the area. They're organized, well-funded, and they're establishing permanent infrastructure. Your property? It's perfect for what they need. Deep forest cover, access to backroads, plenty of space for storage facilities." Wesley studied her face, noting the tension around her eyes. They usually negotiate land deals, he observed, or intimidate people out. Why the professional muscle? Sullivan's coffee cup clinked against its saucer. Because this isn't just about moving stolen goods anymore. The Griffin Syndicate is transforming, bringing in ex-military contractors, setting up sophisticated operations. Word is they've got someone new running things, someone with a special forces background who's turning them into something more dangerous. Scout's ears suddenly pricked forward, catching something beyond human hearing. Moments later, two men entered the diner, the same ones from Carter's store. They took seats at the counter, their reflection in the chrome napkin holder allowing them to observe Wesley's booth. They're not even trying to hide it anymore, Sullivan noted, her voice dropping lower. Sheriff Thompson's completely compromised. Half the department's on syndicate payroll. Last week, 3 farmers south of here decided to sell after their barns mysteriously caught fire. The ones who resisted. She left the sentence unfinished. Wesley's mind raced through options. Years of tactical planning surfacing automatically. His property's security was good. Motion sensors, hidden cameras, hardened communications, but it was designed to detect normal threats, not trained operators. And he had other vulnerabilities. The local ranch hands he employed, their families in town, the supply lines he needed to maintain his farming operation. There's something else, Sullivan added, sliding a file across the table. Got this from a federal contract. Griffin's new leadership, they're not just ex-military, they're former Marine Scout snipers, probably from your era. The way they're operating, the precision of their intelligence gathering, they're using advanced fieldcraft protocols. The implications hit hard. Someone with that background would recognize Wesley's own security measures, understand the way, he thought, know exactly how to apply pressure. More importantly, they'd know what to look for, how to identify a combat tracking dog, even when it was playing the role of a simple hunting companion. Wesley's phone vibrated. A text from Martha. They came back, asked more questions, mentioned Scout specifically. Another message followed quickly, said their boss is very interested in well-trained hunting dogs, offered to buy him, make it clear that refusal isn't an option. Scout's muscles coiled beneath the table, responding to Wesley's tension. The dog's training allowed him to maintain his calm appearance, but he was ready for whatever came next. The syndicate had just made their first real move, and their interest in Scout added a new dimension to the threat. They hadn't just identified him as a tracking dog, they wanted him for something specific. How long? Wesley asked Sullivan, his voice carrying the quiet certainty of someone who'd faced impossible odds before. Day, maybe 2 before they move, she replied. They're consolidating resources, bringing in more personnel. Whatever they're planning, it's big, and your property is key to their operation. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Wesley stood, Scout moving smoothly to his side. The syndicate had made a fundamental mistake in their calculations. They saw his property as a tactical asset, his apparent isolation as weakness, and Scout as a valuable hunting dog to be acquired. What they hadn't factored in was the bond between a handler and his dog, forged through years of precision operations. They were about to learn why stealing a combat tracker was a line no one should cross. As Wesley drove back to his property, his mind was already formulating plans. Scout's tracking abilities weren't just exceptional, they were unique. The dog could follow a scent trail days old, distinguish between multiple targets in complex environments, and most importantly, he understood tactical positioning. These weren't just trained behaviors, they were the result of thousands of hours of specialized development, creating a partnership that had made them one of the most effective scout sniper teams in Marine Corps history. The morning sun climbed higher as Wesley began implementing his initial security measures. Anyone watching would see normal farming activity. checking fences, maintaining equipment, conducting routine property management. But each movement was deliberate, each position carefully chosen. He was establishing his hunting ground, preparing for the confrontation he knew was coming. They thought they were dealing with a stubborn farmer protecting his land. They were about to discover they were facing a predator defending his territory. The Montana afternoon stretched long shadows across Wesley Anderson's property as he accessed a hidden compartment beneath the barn's floorboards. Inside lay equipment he'd hoped would stay buried with his past. His customized M40A6 sniper rifle, still pristine, despite years of storage, specialized optical equipment, and the advanced tracking gear he and Scout had used during their final deployment. His fingers traced the worn leather of Scout's original combat harness, memories flooding back of the missions that had earned them their reputation. Before settling in Montana, Wesley "Ghost Eye" Anderson had been more than just another Marine Corps sniper. He and Scout had pioneered new techniques in combat tracking, combining traditional Scout sniper skills with cutting-edge scent tracking capabilities. Their methods had become legendary within special operations circles, particularly after the Mazandaran operation, where they'd tracked a high-value target through mountainous terrain for 9 days, covering over 60 miles of hostile territory. In the barn's dim light, Scout watched attentively as Wesley laid out their old gear. The dog's intelligence showed in his eyes. He understood the significance of these items emerging from storage. Their transition to civilian life had been carefully planned, their combat capabilities hidden beneath the veneer of a farmer and his hunting dog. But the Griffin Syndicate's interest in Scout had changed everything. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted message carried fresh intelligence. 6 more operators arrived in town, former Force Recon snipers. They're setting up observation posts around the valley. Team leader identified, Marcus Reaper Reynolds. Name ring any bells? The name hit Wesley like a physical impact. Reynolds had been more than just another scout, sniper. He'd helped develop the Marine Corps' advanced tracking program, working alongside Wesley and Scout in their early days. He disappeared 3 years ago during a classified operation in Southeast Asia, his fate unknown until now. The syndicate hadn't just stumbled onto Wesley's property, they'd been guided there by someone who knew exactly what Scout was capable of. Wesley's satellite phone connected him with an old contact in military intelligence. Reynolds went off-grid after the Bangkok incident, the source revealed. Rumors put him working with private military contractors, but this is the first confirmed sighting. He's not just running operations for the Griffin Syndicate, he's transforming them, building a specialized unit using military tracking techniques for weapons trafficking. Scout's attention shifted to the barn's upper window, his posture signaling movement at the property's edge. Through his spotting scope, Wesley observed 3 men moving with tactical precision along the tree line. Their approach pattern was familiar. It was one he and Reynolds had developed together during their Marine Corps days. Getting bold, aren't they? A familiar voice spoke from the barn's side entrance. Frank "Eagle Eye" Mitchell emerged from the shadows, his movement still showing the grace of a veteran sniper, despite his civilian clothes. He'd served with Wesley in the Corps, and his arrival wasn't coincidental. Rachel called. Figured you could use someone who knows the old ways. Wesley studied his former spotter, noting how Frank's eyes constantly scanned their surroundings. Some habits never faded. Reynolds is running their operation, Wesley informed him, watching understanding dawn on his old partner's face. Well, that complicates things, Frank observed, kneeling to greet Scout. The dog's tail wagged briefly. He remembered the countless hours this man had spent prone beside them, calling wind corrections and range estimations. He knows all our old tricks. Not all of them, Wesley responded, retrieving a weathered notebook from the hidden compartment. Its pages contained tracking techniques and operational protocols they'd developed but never officially documented. After Mazandaran, Scout and I kept pushing the boundaries. Reynolds knows the standard playbook, but he never saw what we developed later. Frank examined the notebook with professional interest. These tracking patterns, they're beyond anything in the manual. No wonder. They want Scout. With these techniques, they could move weapons through any terrain, avoiding all standard detection methods. Through sophisticated optics, Wesley observed more syndicate members arriving at the old lumber mill. Their equipment spoke of serious financial backing, thermal imaging gear, encrypted communications, and specialized tracking equipment. Reynolds wasn't just building a criminal operation. He was creating a militarized trafficking network. They're setting up a containment perimeter, Frank noted, his experienced eye catching details others might miss. Standard three-layer approach, just like we used to run. Outer observation posts here and here. He pointed to elevated positions on Wesley's property map. Inner security teams maintaining mobile coverage and a quick reaction force staged nearby. Scout's ears suddenly pricked forward, catching something beyond human hearing. Moments later, Deputy Sullivan's urgent message confirmed the dog's warning. Multiple vehicles moving on back roads. They're bringing in specialized equipment, including K9 handling gear. Reynolds isn't just after Scout for his tracking abilities, Wesley realized, connecting the pieces. He wants him to train other dogs, create a whole unit of combat trackers. With those capabilities, they could move weapons anywhere completely undetected. Frank's satellite phone displayed encrypted surveillance photos showing more syndicate members arriving, all with military backgrounds, all carefully chosen for their specialized skills. They're not preparing for a simple land grab, he observed. This is a full tactical operation. Reynolds is treating it like a military mission. Wesley watched Scout patrol the barn's perimeter, the dog's movements showing his full capabilities for the first time since their retirement. Each pause was precisely timed, each position carefully chosen to maximize his scent tracking coverage. This wasn't just trained behavior, it was the result of years developing natural abilities far beyond standard military protocols. Remember, that operation in the Hindu Kush? Frank asked, his mind clearly running through past missions. When Scout tracked those weapon smugglers through a snowstorm, Reynolds always said it was impossible, that no dog could maintain a scent trail in those conditions. That's when he started pushing for the advanced tracking program. The memory clarified something for Wesley. He never understood what made Scout special, he explained, watching his partner work. Reynolds thought it was all about techniques and protocols. He wanted to create a standardized system, something that could be replicated. But Scout's abilities came from our connection, from thousands of hours developing natural talents. You can't program that kind of understanding. Deputy. Sullivan's next update carried grim implications. They're moving faster than expected. Reynolds has called in more resources. Local police have been ordered to avoid your property. They're clearing the area for something big. Through their spotting scope, Wesley and Frank observed new syndicate teams establishing positions. Their movements showed the precision of experienced combat veterans, but there was something mechanical about their approach. They were following protocols perfectly, but lacking the fluid adaptability that came from true fieldcraft. They're good, Frank acknowledged, but they're relying too heavily on textbook procedures. Reynolds has them operating like a military unit, but they've lost the hunter's instinct. They're so focused on their tactical positioning that they're missing the natural signs. Scout's posture shifted subtly as he caught a familiar scent. Moments later, Wesley's phone displayed a message from an unexpected source, a former Marine Corps K9 trainer who'd worked with them in the advanced tracking program. Reynolds reached out months ago, wanted details about Scout's training. When I refused, he offered serious money, said he was developing something big, a new approach to military-style tracking operations. The implications were clear. Reynolds wasn't just planning to steal Scout. He wanted to reverse engineer their entire program, create a standardized system for training combat tracking dogs. but he'd forgotten the most important lesson from their Marine Corps days. True fieldcraft couldn't be reduced to a series of procedures. It required instinct, adaptation, and the deep connection between handler and dog. As evening approached, Wesley and Frank began implementing countermeasures, using their years of experience to prepare for the coming confrontation. Each position was carefully chosen, each angle considered with the precision of veteran snipers. Scout moved between them, his enhanced senses helping identify the optimal locations for their defense. "They'll come at night," Frank predicted, his voice carrying the certainty of someone who'd spent years studying human movement patterns. Reynolds always preferred night operations, said it was when people made the most mistakes. Wesley checked his customized rifle one final time, the familiar weight bringing back memories of countless missions. "He forgot something important," he responded, watching Scout patrol their perimeter. "Nighttime isn't just about human error. It's when natural instincts are strongest, when the difference between trained behavior and true understanding becomes most apparent." The Montana sun began its descent behind the Bitterroot Range, casting long shadows across the valley. While checking their equipment, Frank shared intelligence from his own military contacts. "Reynolds isn't just building a tracking unit," he revealed, examining surveillance photos on his encrypted tablet. "He's creating an entire training program. The Griffin Syndicate is investing millions in facilities across 3 states. They're planning to sell these capabilities to other organizations." Wesley processed this information while watching Scout methodically work the property's perimeter. The dog's movements revealed the sophistication of their developed techniques. Each pause calculated, every direction change, serving multiple purposes. It was a demonstration of why their methods couldn't be replicated through standard training protocols. "Found something interesting in the old mission files," Frank continued, pulling up classified documents on his secure laptop. "Remember that operation in the Wakhan corridor? The one that got mysteriously scrubbed from official records?" Reynolds was there, observing Scout's performance. "That's when he first started pushing for access to your training methods." The memory surfaced clearly, a classified tracking operation through some of the most challenging terrain on Earth. Scout had maintained a scent trail for 11 days across glacial valleys and high-altitude passes, accomplishing what military experts had deemed impossible. It was the mission that had first revealed the true extent of their capabilities. He never understood what he was seeing, Wesley observed, checking the customized scope on his rifle. Reynolds kept focusing on the technical aspects: scent detection, ranges, terrain adaptation protocols, environmental compensation factors. He missed the fundamental truth about advanced tracking. Frank nodded in understanding. "It's not about the procedures," he agreed, watching Scout work. "It's about developing natural abilities, building on instincts that already exist. You can't teach that through standard training methods." Their discussion was interrupted by a new movement at the property's edge. Through their optical equipment, they observed syndicate members setting up sophisticated monitoring devices, the kind typically used by military special operations units. "They're establishing a surveillance web," Frank noted, his expertise in counter-sniper operations evident. Multiple layers of detection equipment, overlapping fields of observation. Reynolds is treating this like a high-value target extraction. Scout's behavior shifted subtly, indicating he'd detected something beyond their optical range. Moments later, Deputy Sullivan's message confirmed his warning. "New players arriving. Private military contractors with advanced tracking equipment. They're bringing in something big. Looks like mobile command and control vehicles." The implications were clear. Reynolds wasn't just planning a simple operation, he was establishing a full military-style command structure. The Griffin Syndicate had evolved far beyond typical criminal organizations, incorporating special operations tactics into their methodology. As darkness approached, Wesley and Frank made final adjustments to their defensive position. "One thing still bothers me," Frank mused, checking his communication equipment. "Reynolds knows your capabilities, understands the risks of taking on a former scout sniper. Why move against you directly, unless this isn't just about Scout's tracking abilities?" Wesley finished the thought. "He's using this operation to prove something, demonstrating that his militarized approach can overcome our more intuitive methods." The evening wind carried the scent of pine and approaching rain, natural elements that would add complexity to the coming engagement. In the growing darkness, Wesley and Frank prepared for a confrontation that would test more than just their combat skills. It would prove whether Reynolds' militarized approach to tracking could match the natural abilities of a dog who turned fieldcraft into an art form, and determine the future of combat tracking itself. The first signs of Reynolds' tactical approach emerged as night settled over the Montana Valley. Through their advanced optical equipment, Wesley and Frank observed syndicate teams implementing a sophisticated containment strategy. Their movement patterns revealed a disturbing level of professional expertise. These weren't common criminals, but trained operators executing military-grade protocols. "Southern perimeter breach," Frank whispered, his spotter's eye catching subtle movements in the darkness. 4 figures advanced through the tree line, their progress masked by careful use of terrain features. Their approach matched advanced infiltration techniques taught only to elite military units. Scout's reaction revealed a deeper complexity to the situation. The dog's behavior indicated he detected not just the visible operators, but additional teams moving through different sectors. His training allowed him to process multiple threat vectors simultaneously, building a comprehensive picture of the developing tactical situation. Wesley's satellite phone vibrated with an urgent update from Deputy Sullivan. "Multiple vehicles detected on back roads. Thermal imaging shows they're transporting specialized equipment, including mobile command and control systems. Reynolds is implementing something big." Through his customized scope, Wesley observed the sophisticated coordination between syndicate teams. Their movements suggested extensive preparation and professional training, but there was something artificial about their precision. They followed textbook procedures perfectly, lacking the fluid adaptability that characterized true field craft. "Look at their formation," Frank noted, his voice carrying years of combat experience. "Standard military infiltration pattern, but they're too rigid, too focused on maintaining perfect intervals. Reynolds has them operating like machines rather than hunters." Scout's ears suddenly pricked forward, catching something beyond human perception. Moments later, Diana's monitoring equipment detected encrypted communications between the syndicate teams. The sophistication of their radio traffic confirmed what the dog had already sensed. This wasn't just a criminal operation, but a full, military-style assault, multiple breach points forming, Frank reported, tracking thermal signatures through his spotting scope. "They're establishing a classic pincer movement, 3 teams converging from different angles, each one precisely coordinated with the others. This is advanced small unit tactics." Wesley watched through his optics as more syndicate members emerged from the darkness. Their equipment reflected serious financial investment, cutting-edge night vision gear, tactical communication systems, and specialized tracking equipment. Reynolds wasn't just leading a criminal enterprise, he was building a private military force. "Found something interesting in their communication pattern," Frank announced, monitoring the encrypted channels. "They're using modified Marine Corps protocols, but with significant changes. Reynolds has adapted military procedures for criminal operations. He's creating his own tactical doctrine." Wesley's mind raced through tactical options, years of combat experience surfacing automatically. The property's defensive measures were substantial, but they faced opponents trained in military counter-surveillance techniques. More concerning, was how the syndicate teams moved with clear purpose, suggesting intimate knowledge of the layout. "They've studied the terrain thoroughly," Frank observed, noting how the attackers used natural features for cover. "Probably been watching for weeks, mapping every approach route. Reynolds is implementing textbook pre-mission reconnaissance." A new message from Deputy Sullivan carried additional warnings. More vehicles arriving at the lumber mill. They're unloading some kind of specialized tracking equipment. These aren't standard operations tools. They look like prototype military gear. Through his scope, Wesley caught glimpses of the new equipment being deployed. The technology appeared in advanced, possibly experimental versions of military tracking systems. Reynolds wasn't just utilizing standard tactics, he was implementing cutting-edge capabilities in his pursuit of Scout. "This goes beyond simple criminal enterprise," Frank noted, his assessment reflecting years of military intelligence experience. "Reynolds is using this operation to prove something, demonstrating that his militarized approach to tracking can overcome natural field craft." Scout's alert posture signaled the detection of new threats approaching from multiple vectors. The dog's training allowed him to process complex tactical situations, understanding not just individual movements, but overall strategic patterns. His behavior indicated the syndicate teams were implementing something more sophisticated than standard containment protocols. "They're not just trying to surround us," Wesley realized, watching the coordinated movements through his optics. "Reynolds is recreating advanced military deployment patterns, using this operation to validate his training methods." Frank's monitoring equipment detected increased radio traffic between syndicate teams. Their communications revealed a level of tactical sophistication that confirmed Wesley's assessment. Reynolds had transformed common criminals into a coordinated military unit. "Multiple teams establishing firing positions," Frank reported, tracking thermal signatures through his equipment. "They're setting up interlocking fields of fire, just like we used to do in Force Recon. Reynolds has trained them in advanced small unit tactics." Scout's reaction to the developing situation showcased why natural tracking abilities surpassed programmed responses. While the syndicate teams moved with mechanical precision, the dog adapted fluidly to changing tactical conditions, processing environmental data in ways no training manual could teach. "Look at their equipment loadout," Frank observed, studying the approaching forces through his scope. "Modified military gear, specialized tracking systems, advanced communication tools." Reynolds has seriously upgraded the Griffin Syndicate's capabilities. Wesley's satellite phone displayed new intelligence from his military contacts. "Reynolds has been recruiting extensively from special operations communities, building a private military force using stolen weapons and modified military equipment. This operation is his proof of concept." Through their optical systems, they observed syndicate teams deploying sophisticated surveillance equipment around the property perimeter. The technology appeared in advanced, possibly experimental versions of military tracking systems that hadn't yet been approved for official use. "They're establishing a multi-layered detection grid," Frank noted, his expertise in counter-surveillance evident. "Thermal imaging, motion sensors, electronic surveillance. Reynolds is implementing military-grade security protocols." Scout's behavior indicated he'd detected something beyond the obvious tactical deployments. The dog's enhanced capabilities allowed him to sense deeper patterns in the syndicate's movements, understanding strategic implications that even sophisticated technology missed. As the Montana night deepened, Wesley and Frank prepared for a confrontation that would test more than just their combat skills. Reynolds had created a militarized criminal force, equipped with advanced technology and trained in sophisticated tactics. But he'd forgotten the most important lesson from their Marine Corps days. True fieldcraft couldn't be reduced to procedures. and protocols. It required instinct, adaptation, and the natural abilities that no amount of training could replicate. "Remember what you used to say during sniper school?" Frank asked, checking his equipment one final time. "About the difference between shooting and hunting?" Wesley nodded, watching Scout process the complex tactical situation developing around them. "Shooting is about procedures," he replied. "Hunting is about understanding." Reynolds turned his men into excellent shooters, but they've forgotten how to hunt. The night air carried the scent of approaching rain, adding new complexity to the tactical environment. Through their surveillance equipment, Wesley and Frank detected another wave of syndicate personnel arriving at the staging area. These newcomers moved differently from the previous teams, their behavior suggesting specialized training beyond standard military protocols. "Bringing in their elite units," Frank observed, studying the new arrivals through his thermal scope. "Look at their gear, custom modifications, non-standard configurations. Reynolds has developed his own tactical systems." Scout's attention fixed on the new threat, his behavior revealing an understanding that went beyond simple threat detection. The dog recognized patterns in their movement that suggested a more sophisticated approach to the operation. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted message confirmed their observations. New intel from federal sources. Reynolds has been testing experimental tracking methods, combining military protocols with advanced technology. He's developed something he calls synthetic hunting, trying to replicate natural tracking abilities through technical means. The implications were significant. Reynolds hadn't just militarized his operation, he was attempting to mechanize the very essence of tracking itself. Through his scope, Wesley observed the syndicate teams deploying what appeared to be prototype sensor arrays, technology designed to match or exceed natural tracking capabilities. "They're establishing some kind of electronic detection grid," Frank reported, monitoring signals from the new equipment. "Advanced motion tracking, thermal mapping, environmental analysis. Reynolds is trying to create a technological replacement for natural field craft." Scout's reaction to the electronic systems revealed a crucial difference between natural ability and artificial replication. While the syndicate's technology could detect physical presence, the dog understood context, the subtle differences between threat and coincidence, intention and happenstance. "He's missing the point entirely," Wesley noted, watching the sophisticated but ultimately rigid deployment of Reynolds' forces. "You can't reduce tracking to data points and algorithms. Real fieldcraft requires understanding, not just detection." As the syndicate teams moved into their final positions, Wesley and Frank prepared to demonstrate why natural tracking abilities developed through years of partnership would always surpass programmed military responses. The coming confrontation would prove whether Reynolds' mechanized approach to combat tracking could match the fluid adaptability of true fieldcraft and determine the future of tactical operations in the modern age. The first raindrops struck the Montana soil as Wesley's surveillance equipment detected unusual movement patterns among the syndicate forces. Their formation had shifted, implementing what appeared to be an experimental tactical approach. Through his specialized optics, he observed teams deploying what looked like cutting-edge sensor arrays, technology that hadn't yet reached the commercial or even standard military markets. "Check this out," Frank whispered, adjusting his thermal imaging display. "They're establishing some kind of integrated detection grid. Those sensors are linking together, creating overlapping fields of electronic surveillance. Never seen anything like it." Scout's behavior revealed something the technology missed. The dog's enhanced capabilities detected not just physical presence, but intention, the subtle shifts in human movement that indicated imminent action. His alert posture signaled the approach of something beyond standard tactical deployment. "Deputy," Sullivan's encrypted message added crucial context. "Federal sources confirm Reynolds has been working with private military contractors. developing what they call predictive tracking systems, AI-driven technology meant to anticipate target movement patterns. They're using this operation to field test the prototype. The implications struck deep. Reynolds hadn't just mechanized his tracking approach. He was attempting to replicate and exceed natural hunting instincts through artificial means. The sensor arrays weren't simple detection devices but components of a larger system designed to outperform organic tracking abilities. Multiple signals detected, Frank reported, monitoring the electronic emissions. Those sensors are gathering environmental data, processing it through some kind of advanced algorithm. They're trying to predict our possible movement routes, establish a containment net before we even move. Through his scope, Wesley observed new teams taking positions along the predicted pathways. Their deployment wasn't based on standard tactical doctrine, but on the AI system's calculations. It was a fundamentally different approach to tracking, replacing instinct and experience with processed data and statistical analysis. Scout's reaction to this artificial intelligence network proved telling. While the Syndicate's technology attempted to predict movement through computation, the dog understood the fluid nature of tactical situations. His natural abilities processed not just physical signs, but the complex interplay of environment, intention, and opportunity. Bringing in specialized equipment, Frank noted, his optics catching glimpse of vehicles approaching through the back roads. Looks like mobile command and control units. Reynolds is establishing a full tactical operations center. He's running this like a military field test. The rain intensified, adding layers of complexity to the tactical environment. Water. Droplets interfered with the Syndicate's electronic sensors, creating gaps in their detection grid. Yet Scout's natural abilities remained unaffected, his understanding of the situation actually enhanced by the changing conditions. Deputy Sullivan's next update carried strategic significance. Just intercepted communications. Reynolds is coordinating with private military observers. They're here to evaluate his synthetic tracking system. If it proves effective, they're prepared to implement it across multiple organizations. The stakes had just risen dramatically. This wasn't just about capturing Scout or securing Wesley's property. Reynolds was staging a demonstration, attempting to prove that technology could surpass natural tracking abilities. The outcome would influence the future of tactical operations across military and law enforcement sectors. New movement at the perimeter, Frank called out, tracking thermal signatures through the rain. They're adapting their formation, trying to compensate for the weather's effect on their sensors. The AI is recalculating optimal positions. Wesley studied the Syndicate's response through his customized scope. Their adjustments showed both the sophistication and limitation of Reynolds' approach. The technology could process environmental changes and modify tactical positions, but it lacked the intuitive understanding that came from true fieldcraft. Scout's attention shifted to the eastern approach, where the Syndicate's electronic grid showed no activity. The dog's behavior indicated presence in a sector their technology had missed completely. Natural tracking abilities had detected what artificial systems failed to process. Their sensor network has blind spots, Frank observed, correlating Scout's alerts with gaps in the electronic surveillance. AI can't process certain environmental conditions. It's working from program parameters, not real understanding. Through the rain-soaked darkness, Wesley caught glimpses of Reynolds' force, implementing countermeasures. Teams deployed additional sensors, attempting to patch holes in their electronic detection net. Their response showed the fundamental weakness of relying on technology over natural ability. Every solution created new vulnerabilities. Deputy Sullivan's intelligence network provided crucial updates. Reynolds has called in technical specialists. They're modifying the AI's parameters in real time, trying to improve its environmental adaptation. This is beyond anything we've seen before. They're literally rewriting tactical protocols on the fly. Scouts' behavior indicated recognition of a deeper pattern in the syndicate's movements. While their technology focused on immediate tactical positioning, the dog understood the strategic implications of their deployment. His natural abilities processed not just current conditions, but potential developments. They're establishing some kind of predictive containment grid, Frank reported, analyzing data from multiple surveillance sources. The AI isn't just tracking current positions, it's attempting to anticipate future movements, creating a dynamic tactical barrier. Through his optics, Wesley observed syndicate teams implementing this new approach. Their deployment wasn't based on traditional tactical doctrine, but on complex algorithms, processing vast amounts of environmental and behavioral data. Reynolds had created something unprecedented, a system that attempted to merge military precision with artificial intelligence. The technology is impressive, Frank admitted, watching the sophisticated coordination between syndicate teams. But it's still just processing data. It can't understand context or intention, can't differentiate between a tactical movement and a natural response to changing conditions. Scout's alert posture signaled detection of new elements entering the tactical space. His natural abilities had identified something beyond the electric grid's parameters, a development that artificial systems, for all their sophistication, couldn't process. The rain continued to fall, creating a complex environment that challenged both natural and artificial tracking capabilities. Through this atmospheric veil, Wesley observed Reynolds' forces continuing their deployment, each position calculated by algorithms, yet lacking the fluid adaptability of true fieldcraft. "They're trying to quantify hunting instincts," Wesley noted, watching the syndicate's technology attempt to replicate natural abilities, turn tracking into a mathematical equation. But some things can't be reduced to data points and probability calculations. The night deepened as this clash between natural ability and artificial replication took shape. Reynolds had created a sophisticated system, merging military precision with cutting-edge technology. But in doing so, he'd forgotten the most fundamental aspect of tracking, the intuitive understanding that came from years of developing natural talents. Scouts' movement along their defensive perimeter demonstrated this truth. While the syndicate's AI processed environmental data through predetermined parameters, the dog's natural abilities adapted fluidly to changing conditions. His understanding wasn't programmed, but developed through experience and partnership. "Incoming. A data burst," Frank announced, his monitoring equipment detecting encrypted transmissions. "They're receiving real-time updates from some kind of central processing facility. Looks like the AI is drawing on a massive tactical database, comparing current conditions with historical operation patterns." Wesley's military contacts provided Through his specialized optics, Wesley observed technical teams deploying what appeared to be next-generation monitoring equipment. The devices incorporated elements he'd never seen before, hybrid systems that merged multiple detection technologies into integrated sensor arrays. "Those units aren't just passive detection systems," Frank noted, studying the equipment through his scope. "They're actively mapping terrain features, creating dynamic tactical overlays. The AI uses this data to generate real-time probability matrices for target movement." Scouts' reaction to these artificial systems revealed their fundamental limitation. While the technology could process vast amounts of environmental data, it lacked the intuitive understanding that came from natural tracking abilities. The dog's behavior indicated awareness of tactical elements that existed beyond measurable parameters. Deputy Sullivan's latest update confirmed their observations. "Just received classified briefing materials. Reynolds' system isn't just designed for tracking, it's part of a larger initiative to automate tactical operations. They're trying to remove human intuition from the equation entirely, replacing fieldcraft with processed data." The rain's intensity varied, creating shifting patterns of visibility and concealment. Through these atmospheric changes, Wesley watched the syndicate's technology struggle to maintain tactical coherence. Their AI system constantly recalculated positions, trying to compensate for environmental variables it hadn't been programmed to handle. "Look at their adjustment patterns," Frank observed, tracking thermal signatures through the weather. The technology responds to changes in measurable conditions, temperature, humidity, wind speed, but it misses the subtle environmental cues that natural tracking relies on. Scout's enhanced capabilities proved this point as he detected movement. In sectors the electronic grid had classified as secure, the dog's understanding went beyond simple data processing, incorporating elements of tactical awareness that couldn't be reduced to algorithmic calculations. "They're deploying some kind of autonomous response units," Frank reported, his equipment detecting new electronic signatures. Unmanned systems linked to the AI's tactical network. Reynolds is pushing the boundaries of automated tracking technology. Through the rain-streaked night, Wesley observed these robotic elements joining the syndicate's deployment. Their movement patterns showed precise coordination, but lacked the adaptive fluidity that characterized natural tactical progression. The confrontation was evolving into something beyond a simple criminal operation. Reynolds had created a testing ground for next-generation military technology, attempting to prove that artificial systems could surpass natural tracking abilities. But in his pursuit of technological superiority, he'd forgotten the essential truth about fieldcraft. True hunting instinct couldn't be programmed or replicated through artificial means. Midnight brought a transformation to the Montana battlefield. As Reynolds unveiled the full scope of his operation, through their surveillance equipment, Wesley and Frank observed a new wave of vehicles arriving at the staging area, specialized transport units carrying equipment that redefined the nature of their confrontation. "We've got serious hardware incoming," Frank reported, his military expertise evident in his assessment. "Those aren't standard tactical vehicles. They're carrying some kind of integrated command and control system, multiple satellite uplinks, advanced communications arrays. This is military-grade technology that isn't supposed to exist yet." Scout's alert posture indicated detection of something beyond the obvious tactical deployment. The dog's enhanced senses picked up patterns in the syndicate's movement that suggested a more sophisticated operation than even their advanced technology revealed. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted message carried urgent intelligence. Federal sources confirm Reynolds has activated something called Project Huntmaster. It's a classified initiative combining AI-driven tactical systems with autonomous combat units. Your property has become their first live-fire testing ground. Through his customized scope, Wesley observed technical teams deploying what appeared to be prototype combat robots. These machines moved with unnatural precision, their actions coordinated by Reynolds' artificial intelligence network. Each unit carried sophisticated sensor packages and what looked like experimental weapon systems. "They're establishing some kind of autonomous tactical grid," Frank noted, monitoring electronic emissions. "Those robots are networked together, sharing data in real time. The AI isn't just directing them. It's learning from their interactions, adapting its tactical protocols on the fly." Scout's reaction to these mechanical hunters proved telling. While the robots processed environmental data through programmed parameters, the dog understood the fluid nature of tactical situations. His natural abilities detected vulnerabilities in their artificial precision. "Got something from my Pentagon contact," Frank announced, checking his satellite phone. Reynolds didn't just leave the Marines. He was recruited by a Black Ops technology division. They've been developing these systems for years, trying to create the perfect hunting machine, something that combines military precision with AI-driven tactical adaptation. The rain intensified, creating sheets of water that challenged both. organic and artificial tracking capabilities. Through this atmospheric veil, Wesley watched Reynolds' automated units adjust their deployment. Their movements showed impressive coordination, but lacked the intuitive understanding that characterized true field craft. Multiple signatures converging, Frank warned, tracking thermal readings. They're implementing some kind of synchronized containment protocol. The AI is directing both human and robotic units in a coordinated effort to establish overlapping fields of control. Scout's enhanced capabilities detected a pattern in this electronic deployment. While the Syndicate's technology focused on establishing perfect tactical positioning, the dog recognized the strategic implications of their formation. Natural hunting instinct perceived what artificial intelligence couldn't process. Deputy Sullivan's next update revealed deeper complexities. Just intercepted communications between Reynolds and his private military contractors. This isn't just about testing their technology. They're staging a demonstration. If these systems prove effective against your natural tracking abilities, they'll receive contracts worth billions. The stakes had escalated beyond a simple criminal operation. Reynolds was attempting to prove that artificial intelligence could surpass natural hunting instinct, that machines could outperform the most highly trained organic tracking teams. The outcome would influence the future of military and law enforcement operations worldwide. New tactical elements deploying, Frank reported, his equipment detecting additional electronic signatures. They're bringing in some kind of advanced drone network. Looks like they're establishing aerial surveillance coverage to complement their ground-based systems. Through his scope, Wesley observed these unmanned aerial vehicles taking position above their property. The drones moved with precise coordination, establishing a three-dimensional surveillance grid that merged with the ground-based autonomous units. Scout's attention shifted to patterns that existed beyond electronic detection. The dog's natural abilities processed not just physical presence, but intention, understanding the subtle differences between tactical movement and strategic positioning. His behavior indicated awareness of elements that Reynolds' technology couldn't quantify. "Check this out," Frank called softly, adjusting his monitoring equipment. "Those drones aren't just providing surveillance. They're equipped with some kind of active countermeasure systems. Reynolds has created a fully integrated autonomous combat network." The implications were staggering. The syndicate leader hadn't just militarized his operation, he'd created a testing ground for next-generation warfare technology. His autonomous units represented an attempt to revolutionize tactical operations, replacing human judgment with artificial intelligence. Deputy Sullivan's intelligence network provided crucial insight. Federal sources report Reynolds has been working with rogue military scientists. They've developed something they call synthetic hunting algorithms, AI systems designed to replicate and enhance natural tracking abilities. These machines are running on combat protocols evolved from actual field operations. Through the rain-swept darkness, Wesley observed these artificial hunters implementing their learned behaviors. Each movement was calculated by algorithms processed through vast databases of tactical information, yet they lacked the fluid adaptability that came from true understanding. "The technology is impressive," Frank admitted, watching the coordinated deployment, "but they're still just following programmed responses. No matter how sophisticated their algorithms, they can't replicate the intuitive understanding that comes from real experience." Scouts' movement along their defensive perimeter demonstrated this truth. While Reynolds's machines processed tactical data through rigid parameters, the dog's natural abilities adapted organically to changing conditions. His understanding wasn't calculated, but developed through years of actual fieldcraft. "More technical teams are arriving," Frank reported, tracking new vehicle movements. "They're bringing in additional processing units, expanding their AI's computational capabilities. Reynolds is trying to overwhelm natural tracking abilities with pure technological superiority. The night deepened as this clash between organic and artificial hunting capabilities took shape. Through his optics, Wesley observed Reynolds' forces establishing what appeared to be the most sophisticated autonomous combat system ever fielded. Yet for all its technological advancement, it still operated within the limitations of programmed response patterns. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted message carried strategic implications. Just received word. Military observers are on site. Reynolds isn't just testing his system. He's showcasing it for potential buyers, private military contractors, foreign governments, anyone willing to pay for next-generation tactical capabilities. The confrontation had evolved beyond personal rivalry or criminal enterprise. Reynolds was staging a demonstration of revolutionary military technology, attempting to prove that artificial systems could replace natural hunting abilities. The outcome would influence the future of tactical operations across the globe. Multiple deployment patterns emerged, Frank noted, studying the syndicate's tactical display. The AI is implementing different hunting strategies simultaneously, testing various approach vectors. It's like watching a machine try to think like a predator. Scouts' reaction to these artificial hunting patterns revealed their fundamental weakness. While the autonomous units processed environmental data with incredible speed, they couldn't understand the subtle interplay of terrain, weather, and tactical intention. Their precision was their limitation, too perfect to be truly effective. The rain continued to fall, creating a complex battlefield that challenged both natural and artificial tracking capabilities. Through this atmospheric curtain, Wesley watched Reynolds' technology attempt to replicate what Scout achieved through natural ability. Each calculated movement of their autonomous units demonstrated both the power and limitations of synthetic hunting systems. They're expanding their electronic perimeter, Frank reported, monitoring signal patterns, establishing multiple layers of AI-driven surveillance. Reynolds is trying to create an inescapable tactical net, using technology to compensate for the limitations of program responses. The night had transformed their Montana property into a testing ground for the future of warfare itself. Reynolds' autonomous hunters represented the cutting edge of military technology, yet their very sophistication revealed why natural tracking abilities couldn't be replicated through artificial means. True fieldcraft required something beyond computation, the intuitive understanding that only came through genuine experience and partnership. Picking up unusual signal patterns, Frank announced, his monitoring equipment detecting new electronic emissions. They're implementing some kind of biomechanical interface system. Looks like Reynolds has found a way to merge human tactical experience with his AI network. Through his specialized optics, Wesley observed syndicate operators connecting to what appeared to be neural interface devices. The technology allowed them to share tactical data directly with the autonomous units, creating a hybrid hunting system that merged human instinct with artificial intelligence. This changes the equation, Frank noted, studying the merged tactical signatures. Those operators aren't just controlling the machines, they're feeding their combat experience directly into the AI's learning protocols. Reynolds is trying to teach his system how to think like a human hunter. Scout's reaction to this development proved fascinating. The dog's enhanced capabilities detected something distinctly different about these hybrid units. Their movement patterns showed a level of adaptability that pure machines lacked, yet still fell short of true natural tracking ability. Deputy Sullivan's latest intelligence update revealed more. Just received classified specs on their neural interface system. It's called Project Echo, designed to capture and replicate human tactical instincts through direct neural scanning. Reynolds isn't just building hunting machines, he's trying to download actual fieldcraft experience into his AI. The implications were profound. Through his scope, Wesley watched these hybrid hunters move across his property. Their actions showed elements of human intuition merged with mechanical precision, creating something that existed between natural and artificial tracking capabilities. The integration isn't perfect, Frank observed, monitoring their performance. Through various sensors, you can see moments where the AI struggles to process human tactical instincts. It's like watching a machine try to understand why a hunter makes split-second decisions in the field. Scout's behavior indicated recognition of this fundamental disconnect. While Reynolds's hybrid units could process and replicate tactical movements, they couldn't truly understand the complex interplay of environmental factors that natural tracking relied upon. Their attempts to merge human experience with artificial intelligence only highlighted the gap between programmed responses and genuine fieldcraft. As the rain continued to fall, Wesley observed this unprecedented clash between natural ability and technological replication. Reynolds had created something revolutionary, a system that attempted to capture and reproduce human hunting instincts through artificial means. Yet in doing so, he'd revealed the true nature of fieldcraft itself, an organic skill that couldn't be reduced to data points or algorithmic responses, no matter how sophisticated the technology. The first direct clash between natural ability and artificial intelligence began with an electronic pulse that temporarily disrupted Wesley's surveillance equipment. Through the momentary darkness, Scout's behavior indicated detection of multiple threat vectors converging on their position. The dog's natural abilities remained unaffected by the technological interference. EMP burst, Frank reported quickly, switching to hardened backup systems. Localized effect, they're trying to create gaps in our detection coverage. Reynolds is implementing some kind of advanced electronic warfare protocol. Through his backup optics, Wesley observed syndicate teams moving under cover of the electronic disruption. Their hybrid units displayed unprecedented coordination, human operators neurally linked with autonomous systems to create a merged tactical entity. Each movement showed both mechanical precision and elements of human adaptability. Getting readings from their neural network, Frank announced, his specialized equipment detecting unique signal patterns. Those interface units aren't just sharing tactical data, they're allowing the AI to directly access human combat instincts. Reynolds has found a way to harvest actual field experience. Scout's reaction to these augmented hunters revealed crucial insights. While the hybrid units showed improved tactical awareness compared to pure machines, they still operated within programmed parameters. Their attempts to replicate human hunting instincts through technology only highlighted the limitations of artificial replication. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted message carried strategic intelligence. Federal sources confirm Reynolds is implementing Protocol Omega, their most advanced combat integration system. The AI isn't just learning from human operators, it's actively modifying their tactical decisions in real time. The rain-soaked battlefield became a testing ground for this revolutionary approach to warfare. Through his scope, Wesley watched hybrid teams implementing attack patterns that merged human creativity with machine precision. Their movements showed disturbing efficiency, yet lacked the fluid adaptability of true fieldcraft. Multiple breach attempts coordinating, Frank warned, tracking thermal signatures. The AI is using data from human operators to predict our defensive responses. They're trying to create a perfect synthesis of machine calculation and human intuition. Scouts' enhanced capabilities detected weaknesses in this artificial integration. While Reynolds's technology could process vast amounts of tactical data, It couldn't replicate the natural understanding that came from years of actual field experience. The dog's movements demonstrated why true hunting ability transcended mere data processing. Interesting pattern emerging, Frank noted, studying their attack formation. The hybrid units are showing signs of tactical evolution. Each engagement provides new data that the AI incorporates into its combat protocols. They're learning from every move we make. Through the atmospheric interference, Wesley observed this adaptive process in action. The Syndicate's augmented operators displayed increasingly sophisticated tactical awareness, their neural interfaces allowing instant sharing of combat information across the entire force. Yet this very efficiency revealed their fundamental limitation, too perfect to be truly effective in the chaotic reality of actual combat. New signatures approaching, Frank reported, his equipment detecting additional electronic emissions. They're deploying some kind of autonomous support units. Looks like Reynolds has weaponized his tracking technology. Scout's alert posture signaled recognition of this escalating threat. The dog's natural abilities processed not just the physical presence of these combat units, but their tactical implications. His behavior indicated understanding of patterns that existed beyond technological detection. Deputy Sullivan's intelligence network provided crucial context. Just intercepted technical specifications. Those support units are running prototype. Combat AI derived from actual special operations data. Reynolds has created automated hunters programmed with real military experience. The confrontation intensified as these artificial predators joined the assault. Through his optics, Wesley observed their unsettling movement patterns. Too smooth, too calculated. Each action showed lethal precision but lacked the intuitive judgment that characterized genuine combat experience. The integration is getting more sophisticated, Frank observed, monitoring the neural network's evolution. Their hybrid units are achieving greater synchronization between human and machine elements. Reynolds is pushing the boundaries of what's possible with this technology. Scout's response to this, multiple attack vectors developing, Frank announced, tracking thermal signatures through the rain. The AI is implementing simultaneous assault patterns, using its hybrid units to probe our defenses while the autonomous hunters maintain containment. Through the atmospheric distortion, Wesley watched this coordinated offensive unfold. Reynolds' forces moved with lethal efficiency, each unit's actions perfectly synchronized through their neural network. Yet their very precision made them predictable. To those who understood true fieldcraft, the technology is impressive, Frank admitted, studying their tactical display. But there's something artificial about their movements. They're too perfect, too calculated. Real combat isn't about perfect execution. It's about understanding and adapting to chaos. Scout's behavior supported this assessment. The dog's enhanced capabilities weren't based on processed data or programmed responses, but on genuine understanding developed through years of actual field experience. His movements showed why natural ability would always surpass artificial replication. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted message carried a warning. Reynolds is accessing classified combat databases through his neural network. He's feeding actual military engagement data directly into his AI system. The hybrid units are being updated with real-time tactical protocols. The battlefield transformed as this unprecedented fusion of human experience and artificial intelligence reached new levels. Through his scope, Wesley observed Syndicate operators achieving even greater integration with their autonomous systems. Each movement showed the disturbing evolution of Reynolds' technology. They're establishing some kind of tactical mesh network, Frank reported, monitoring electronic signatures. All units are sharing combat data in real time, creating a collective hunting consciousness. The AI is processing everyone's tactical awareness simultaneously. Scout's reaction to this artificial hive mind proved telling. While Reynolds's technology attempted to replicate the natural coordination of an experienced hunting team, it couldn't match the intuitive understanding that developed through genuine partnership. The dog's movements demonstrated why true field craft couldn't be reduced to processed data. Incoming data burst, Frank warned, his equipment detecting massive information transfer. They're implementing new combat protocols. Reynolds is pushing his neural interface system to maximum capacity, trying to achieve perfect synthesis between human and machine elements. Through the rain-swept darkness, Wesley watched this evolution unfold. The Syndicate's hybrid units moved. With increasing sophistication, their actions showing both mechanical precision and elements of human creativity. Yet this very advancement revealed the fundamental flaw in Reynolds' approach, the belief that hunting instinct could be replicated through technology. The confrontation had become more than a simple tactical engagement. It was a test of fundamental principles, whether artificial intelligence, even enhanced by human neural integration, could match the natural abilities developed through years of actual field experience. Reynolds had created something revolutionary, but in doing so, he'd forgotten the essential truth about real tracking ability. Multiple units converging, Frank reported, tracking thermal signatures. The AI is coordinating all elements simultaneously, implementing some kind of synchronized assault pattern. This is beyond anything we've encountered before. Scout's enhanced capabilities detected the strategic implications of this coordinated attack. While Reynolds' technology focused on perfect tactical execution, the dog understood the fluid nature of actual combat. His natural abilities processed not just immediate threats, but potential developments. System anomaly detected, Frank announced, his monitoring equipment picking up unusual patterns in the Syndicate's neural network. The interface is showing signs of strain. Looks like merging human tactical instincts with AI processing has unexpected side effects. Through his specialized optics, Wesley observed subtle changes in the hybrid unit's behavior. Their movements became increasingly erratic, oscillating between machine precision and human unpredictability. The neural interface appeared to be creating feedback loops between organic intuition and artificial logic. The operators are fighting the AI, Frank noted, studying their degrading performance. Their combat instincts don't always align with the system's calculated responses. Reynolds' perfect synthesis is starting to unravel. Scout's enhanced capabilities detected this growing discord before it became visible. The dog's natural abilities recognized the fundamental conflict between human tactical understanding and machine logic. His behavior indicated awareness of vulnerabilities emerging in the Syndicate's artificial hunting network. Deputy Sullivan's latest intelligence update revealed deeper concerns. Medical monitoring data just intercepted. The neural interface is affecting operator judgment. Extended connection to the AI network is altering their basic combat instincts, creating confusion between learned experience and programmed responses. The implications were staggering. Through his scope, Wesley watched Reynolds' hybrid hunters struggle with this internal conflict. Their attempts to merge human fieldcraft with artificial intelligence had created something unstable, a force caught between natural ability and mechanical precision. The system's trying to compensate, Frank reported, tracking the AI's response. It's implementing more rigid control protocols, attempting to override human tactical instincts when they conflict with its calculated optimal responses. Reynolds' perfect integration is becoming forced compliance. Scout's reaction to these deteriorating hybrid units demonstrated why natural tracking abilities couldn't be artificially replicated or enhanced. While Reynolds' technology tried to impose perfect tactical execution, the dog's movements showed true combat awareness, the fluid adaptation that came from genuine understanding rather than processed data. The confrontation's true complexity emerged as midnight approached. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted transmission carried intelligence that transformed their understanding of Reynolds' operation. Just received classified documents. Project Huntmaster isn't just about weapons trafficking. It's part of something called Operation Mirror. They're developing autonomous hunter-killer systems for military deployment worldwide. Through his specialized optics, Wesley observed new elements joining the syndicate's force. These units moved differently from the hybrid teams, displaying capabilities that went beyond simple neural interface enhancement. Their tactical patterns suggested implementation of experimental combat, no protocols. Getting unusual readings from those new units, Frank reported, his monitoring equipment detecting unique electronic signatures. They're running some kind of advanced behavioral modeling system. The AI isn't just processing tactical data, it's attempting to replicate actual hunting instincts. Scout's reaction to these artificial predators proved telling. The dog's enhanced capabilities detected something fundamentally different about their approach. While previous hybrid units struggled to merge human and machine elements, these new systems displayed disturbing autonomy. Multiple data streams intercepted, Frank announced, decoding encrypted transmissions. They're implementing what they call predator protocols, combat algorithms derived from studying actual hunter behavior. In the field, Reynolds has created machines that think like pursuit predators. Through the rain-swept darkness, Wesley watched these artificial hunters deploy across his property. Their movement showed none of the mechanical rigidity that characterized standard autonomous units. Instead, they displayed an unsettling approximation of natural stalking behavior. Deputy Sullivan's intelligence network revealed more. Technical specifications confirm worst fears. These units are prototypes for a new generation of autonomous combat systems. They've been programmed with tactical data gathered from actual special operations missions. Reynolds isn't just creating machines, he's building artificial warriors. Scouts. Enhanced senses detected patterns in their deployment that technological surveillance missed. The dog's natural abilities recognize something crucial about these new threats. Their apparent autonomy masked a deeper connection to Reynolds' control system. Found something in their command structure, Frank reported, analyzing network traffic. These units aren't truly autonomous. They're extensions of Reynolds himself, directly linked to his neural interface. He's not just controlling them, he's experiencing their tactical operations in real time. The implications struck deep. Through his scope, Wesley observed these artificial hunters implementing sophisticated search patterns. Their movements showed disturbing similarity to techniques he and Reynolds had developed during their Marine Corps days. The technology goes beyond simple control, Frank noted, studying the electronic signatures. Reynolds has found a way to project his combat experience through these machines. Each unit operates with his tactical knowledge, his understanding of field craft. Scout's behavior indicated recognition of this familiar yet artificial presence. While the machines moved, with Reynolds' tactical precision, they lacked the fluid adaptability that characterized true hunting ability. Their actions were perfect replications of learned patterns, but showed no genuine understanding. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted message carried strategic significance. Private military observers confirming unprecedented results. Reynolds's synthetic hunters are outperforming standard autonomous combat units. Multiple organizations preparing purchase contracts. This technology could revolutionize military operations. Through the atmospheric interference, Wesley watched these artificial predators implement increasingly sophisticated tactical approaches. Each movement reflected Reynolds's extensive combat experience, yet remained bound by the limitations of in-program responses. The integration is remarkable, Frank observed, tracking their coordinated movements. But there's something missing in their execution. They follow tactical patterns perfectly, but can't adapt when situations fall outside. Programmed parameters. Scout's natural abilities demonstrated this crucial difference. While Reynolds' machines could replicate specific hunting behaviors, they couldn't match the intuitive understanding that came from genuine field experience. The dog's movements showed why true tracking capability transcended mere pattern replication. New deployment pattern emerging, Frank reported, monitoring thermal signatures. The synthetic hunters are establishing what looks like traditional predator-prey containment grids. They're implementing actual hunting strategies, not just military tactics. Through his optics, Wesley observed this evolutionary approach to artificial combat. Reynolds had moved beyond simple military protocols, creating machines that thought and moved like natural hunters. Yet their very sophistication revealed the fundamental flaw in his approach. Deputy Sullivan's intelligence update added crucial context. Technical analysis shows Reynolds has incorporated behavioral data from multiple predator species. These units don't just think like human hunters, they're programmed with instincts from nature's most efficient tracking predators. The battlefield had transformed into something beyond conventional tactical engagement. These weren't just combat machines, but artificial predators, combining military precision with programmed hunting instincts. Their deployment showed disturbing efficiency in pursuing their objectives. The systems achieving unprecedented tactical integration, Frank noted, studying their evolving patterns. Reynolds has created something that merges military experience, predator behavior, and artificial intelligence. But the question remains, can synthetic hunting truly match natural ability? Scout's enhanced capabilities provided a clear answer to this question. While the artificial hunters displayed impressive tactical execution, they lacked the fundamental understanding that made true tracking possible. Their programmed responses, however sophisticated, couldn't replicate the organic nature of real fieldcraft. Intercepting new command protocols, Frank reported, his equipment detecting massive data transfers. Reynolds is implementing something called Alpha Predator Override. He's taking direct neural control of his entire synthetic hunting force. Through the rain-streaked darkness, Wesley observed this transformation in the artificial unit's behavior. Their movements became more aggressive, more purposeful, reflecting Reynolds' direct tactical influence. Yet this very integration revealed the technology's greatest weakness. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted message carried a warning. Medical telemetry shows dangerous levels of neural activity. Reynolds' attempt to control multiple synthetic hunters simultaneously is putting massive strain on his interface system. The technology wasn't designed for this level of integration. The implications were clear. Reynolds' drive to create perfect hunting machines had led him to push his neural interface beyond safe operational limits. His desire to prove synthetic superiority over natural ability was forcing him to take dangerous risks with experimental technology. The system's showing signs of instability, Frank announced, monitoring the deteriorating electronic signatures. Neural feedback is creating cascading errors in the tactical network. Reynolds' synthetic hunters are starting to display erratic behavior patterns. Scout's reaction to these destabilizing artificial predators demonstrated why natural tracking abilities remained superior. While Reynolds' machines struggled with conflicting combat protocols, the dog's actions showed fluid adaptation to changing tactical conditions. Through his scope, Wesley watched the synthetic hunters implement increasingly aggressive pursuit patterns. Their movements reflected Reynolds' growing desperation to prove his technology's superiority, yet each action only highlighted the limitations of artificial replication. Multiple system anomalies detected, Frank reported, tracking the escalating technical issues. The neural interface is creating feedback loops in the tactical network. Reynolds' attempt to achieve perfect hunting synthesis is backfiring. Scout's enhanced capabilities detected the strategic implications of this deteriorating situation. The dog's natural abilities recognize patterns of vulnerability emerging in the synthetic hunter's behavior, understanding tactical opportunities that existed beyond programmed responses. The confrontation had evolved into something unprecedented, a clash between artificial predators driven by military technology and natural tracking abilities developed through years of actual field experience. Reynolds's attempt to create perfect hunting machines had revealed the essential truth about real combat tracking. The synthetic hunters are still lethal, Frank warned, monitoring their erratic but aggressive movements. But they're losing tactical coherence. Reynolds's direct neural control is creating conflicts between programmed responses. The rain continued to fall as this clash between synthetic and natural hunting abilities reached its crucial phase. Reynolds had created something revolutionary, machines that combined military precision with predator instincts. Yet in pushing his technology to its limits, he demonstrated why true tracking capability couldn't be artificially replicated or controlled. Scouts' movements along their defensive perimeter showed the superiority of natural ability over synthetic replication. While Reynolds' machines struggled with cascading system failures, the dog's enhanced capabilities remained unaffected by technological limitations. His actions demonstrated why real combat tracking required something beyond programmed responses or artificial intelligence, the genuine understanding that came only through experience and partnership. "Picking up biomedical telemetry," Frank announced, monitoring encrypted data streams. Reynolds' neural connection to the synthetic hunters is affecting his cognitive processes. The interface system is blurring the line between human consciousness and machine logic. Through his specialized optics, Wesley observed subtle changes in the artificial predator's behavior patterns. Their movements showed increasing elements of Reynolds' personal combat style, yet distorted by mechanical interpretation. The neural interface wasn't just controlling the machines, it was transforming how they processed tactical decisions. Medical data suggests neural integration is reaching critical levels, Frank reported, analyzing the incoming statistics. Reynolds' attempt to directly control multiple synthetic hunters is overloading his brain's ability to process tactical information. He's losing the distinction between human instinct and programmed response. Scout's enhanced capabilities detected this deteriorating command structure before it became visible in the synthetic unit's performance. The dog's natural abilities recognized the growing discord between Reynolds' transmitted combat experience and the machine's artificial execution. Deputy Sullivan's intelligence network provided crucial insight. Psychological evaluation of Reynolds's neural patterns shows dangerous fusion of human and machine consciousness. His drive to prove synthetic superiority is compromising his ability to distinguish between natural hunting instinct and programmed tactical protocols. The battlefield had become more than a testing ground for advanced military technology. Through his scope, Wesley watched Reynolds' synthetic hunters implement increasingly erratic pursuit patterns, their actions reflecting the unstable merger of human combat experience with artificial intelligence. "The system's reaching a breaking point," Frank observed, tracking the escalating anomalies. "Reynolds can't maintain neural control over so many artificial units simultaneously. His attempt to create perfect hunting machines is backfiring in ways he never anticipated." Scout's reaction to these destabilizing synthetic predators demonstrated the fundamental superiority of natural tracking abilities. While Reynolds' technology struggled with the complexity of real combat situations, the dog's enhanced capabilities showed fluid adaptation to changing tactical conditions. The situation escalated dramatically as Reynolds initiated what his technical teams designated Protocol Apex, a full neural integration between his consciousness and the synthetic hunter network. Through his advanced optics, Wesley observed an immediate transformation in the artificial predator's behavior. Their movements now carried the unmistakable signature of Reynolds' personal combat style, yet twisted by machine interpretation. "This is unprecedented," Frank reported, his monitoring equipment detecting massive data transfers across the tactical network. Reynolds isn't just controlling the synthetic hunters anymore, he's literally thinking through them. The neural interface is creating some kind of distributed consciousness. Scout's enhanced capabilities detected something deeply wrong in this merged tactical entity. The dog's natural abilities recognized patterns of instability that electronic surveillance couldn't measure. A fundamental discord between human tactical understanding and artificial execution. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted message carried an urgent warning. Medical monitors show Reynolds' neural patterns becoming dangerously erratic. The interface system wasn't designed for this level of integration. He's pushing the technology far beyond tested limitations. Through the rain-swept darkness, Wesley watched this technological experiment spiral toward crisis. The synthetic hunters moved with increasing precision but decreasing tactical coherence, perfect execution of combat maneuvers that made less and less strategic sense. Multiple anomalies detected in their command structure, Frank announced, studying the degrading electronic signatures. The AI is struggling to process Reynolds' tactical experience through machine logic. It's creating feedback loops between human instinct and programmed responses. Scout's reaction to these malfunctioning artificial predators proved telling. While the synthetic units displayed impressive individual capabilities, they'd lost the coordinated efficiency that made them truly dangerous. Their attempts to merge human combat knowledge with machine precision had created something fundamentally unstable. New data from the technical teams, Frank reported, decoding intercepted transmissions. They're trying to implement emergency protocols, but Reynolds is overriding their safety measures. He's convinced he can achieve perfect synthesis between human and machine hunting abilities. Through his specialized optics, Wesley observed the synthetic hunters implementing increasingly aggressive pursuit patterns. Their movements showed both the lethal efficiency of military technology and the growing instability of Reynolds' neural control. Deputy Sullivan's intelligence network revealed deeper concerns. Psychological analysis suggests Reynolds is experiencing severe cognitive dissonance. The neural interface is blurring his perception of tactical reality. He can no longer distinguish between his own combat instincts and the machine's programmed responses. The battlefield transformed as this unprecedented merger of human consciousness and artificial intelligence reached critical levels. The synthetic hunters began displaying behavior that defied both military doctrine and basic tactical logic. The system's approaching catastrophic failure, Frank warned, monitoring the escalating technical issues. Reynolds' attempt to think through multiple artificial units simultaneously is overwhelming, both the technology and his own neural processes. Scout's enhanced capabilities detected the strategic implications of this deteriorating situation. The dog's natural abilities recognized patterns of vulnerability emerging in the synthetic hunter's behavior, weaknesses that existed beyond programmed parameters. Through his scope, Wesley watched Reynolds' artificial predators implement combat maneuvers with mechanical perfection, but increasing strategic incoherence. Each movement demonstrated both the power and fundamental limitation of attempting to replicate natural hunting abilities through technology. Intercepting medical telemetry, Frank reported, his equipment detecting alarming biometric data. Reynolds' neural patterns are showing signs of severe strain. The interface system is creating feedback loops in his tactical processing. He's losing the ability to separate human judgment from machine calculation. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted message carried strategic insight. Technical analysis confirms worst fears. Reynolds's neural integration with the synthetic hunters has created an unstable tactical network. The AI is attempting to process human combat instincts through pure logic, creating fundamental conflicts in the system's operational protocols. The implications were staggering. Through his optics, Wesley observed the synthetic hunters executing increasingly complex maneuvers that served no clear tactical purpose. Reynolds' attempt to achieve perfect hunting synthesis had trapped him in a loop of processed combat data and fragmented military experience. The artificial units are starting to display autonomous behavior, Frank noted, tracking thermal signatures through the rain. The neural interface instability is causing them to interpret Reynolds' tactical knowledge in unpredictable ways. They're developing their own distorted understanding. Scout's reaction to these evolving artificial predators demonstrated why natural tracking abilities couldn't be replicated through technology. While Reynolds' machines struggled with conflicting tactical imperatives, the dog's enhanced capabilities showed fluid adaptation to changing battlefield conditions. Multiple system failures cascading through the network, Frank reported, monitoring the deteriorating electronic signatures. Reynolds's neural connection is creating chaos in the tactical grid. The synthetic hunters are receiving contradictory combat protocols from human instinct and machine logic. Through the atmospheric interference, Wesley watched this technological experiment unravel. Reynolds had created something unprecedented, a fusion of human combat experience and artificial intelligence. But in pushing the technology beyond its limits, he demonstrated why true hunting ability couldn't be synthesized or controlled. Deputy Sullivan's intelligence update revealed the full scope of the crisis. Private military observers reporting critical concerns. Reynolds's synthetic hunter program is displaying catastrophic instability. The merger of human tactical knowledge with artificial intelligence has created something they can't control. The rain-soaked battlefield became a demonstration of why natural tracking abilities would always surpass technological replication. Scout's movements showed the fluid adaptation and genuine understanding that no amount of programming or neural integration could achieve. The synthetic hunters are implementing conflicting tactical protocols, Frank observed, studying their erratic behavior patterns. Part of their network is following Reynolds' combat instincts while another portion adheres to pure machine logic. They're literally fighting themselves. Through his specialized optics, Wesley watched this internal conflict play out across the artificial predator units. Their movements oscillated between perfect mechanical precision and disturbing approximations of human tactical judgment. Neural feedback is reaching critical levels, Frank warned, his equipment detecting dangerous spikes in the interface system. Reynolds' attempt to maintain direct control over multiple synthetic hunters is overwhelming his cognitive processes. The technology wasn't designed for this kind of integrated tactical operation. Scout's enhanced capabilities recognize the strategic opportunity emerging from this technological breakdown. While Reynolds's artificial predators struggled with contradictory combat protocols, the dog's natural abilities remained unaffected by the chaos spreading through their tactical network. The confrontation had evolved beyond a simple test of military technology. Reynolds' drive to prove synthetic superiority over natural tracking abilities had led him to push experimental systems far beyond their operational limits. The result was a force of artificial hunters caught between human tactical understanding and machine logic, the systems reaching complete breakdown, Frank reported, tracking the cascading failures. Reynolds can't maintain neural coherence across so many artificial units. His attempt to think through multiple synthetic hunters simultaneously is creating psychological feedback loops. Through the rain-swept darkness, Wesley observed the final phase of this technological experiment. Reynolds had created something revolutionary, machines that could process and implement human combat experience. But in pursuing perfect hunting synthesis, he'd lost sight of why natural abilities couldn't be replicated through artificial means. Deputy Sullivan's encrypted message carried final warning. Medical monitors show Reynolds's neural patterns approaching. Dangerous threshold. The interface system is causing severe cognitive disruption. Technical teams are attempting an emergency shutdown, but he's fighting to maintain control. The battlefield had become a proving ground for the fundamental truth about tracking abilities. While technology could replicate specific tactical patterns with perfect precision, it couldn't match the fluid adaptability and genuine understanding that came from natural development and real partnership. Scouts' movements along their defensive perimeter demonstrated this reality. The dogs' enhanced capabilities weren't program responses or processed data, but the result of actual experience and trusted cooperation. His actions showed why true combat tracking transcended mere technical replication. The rain continued to fall as Reynolds' synthetic hunters reached the apex of their instability. Wesley adjusted his scope, watching the artificial predators cycle through increasingly erratic behaviors. Their movements, once precise and calculated, now revealed the deep fracture within their tactical programming. "Telemetry spiking," Frank shouted. "Reynolds' neural integration is collapsing. The feedback loops are becoming unsustainable. If he doesn't disconnect, he's going to suffer permanent cognitive damage." Deputy Sullivan's latest encrypted message came through with grim confirmation. Medical data confirms severe neural degradation. Reynolds is at risk of total cognitive disassociation. His mind is fragmenting between the synthetic hunter network and his own consciousness. Wesley exhaled slowly. He'd seen reckless ambition before, but never on this scale. Reynolds had tried to become the perfect hunter by merging man and machine, but in doing so, he had lost himself. Scout moved with quiet precision, ignoring the synthetic predators as they twitched and stumbled through corrupted directives. The dog's instincts, honed through years of experience, allowed him to move unhindered by the chaos consuming Reynolds' network. Visual confirmation. "He's still trying to push through," Frank reported. "Reynolds is overriding all failsafes. He's determined to prove the system works no matter the cost." Through his scope, Wesley located Reynolds' position. The man was standing rigid, his body trembling from the strain of the neural link. His eyes were unfocused, his expression caught between human determination and machine-induced blankness. The synthetic hunters lurched again, their precision shattered by conflicting orders. One unit attacked another, interpreting its movements as a threat. The network was eating itself alive. "He's lost control," Frank muttered. "They're no longer responding to coordinated commands. They're just reacting." Deputy Sullivan's final transmission confirmed the inevitable. Emergency shutdown protocols overridden. Reynolds is beyond retrieval. His neural link is self-sustaining now. He can't break free. Wesley knew what had to be done. With quiet resolve, he steadied his rifle, placing Reynolds in his sights. There was no coming back for him. The man, who had once been a tactical genius, was now just another victim of his own obsession. The shot rang out through the rain, striking true. Reynolds collapsed instantly, his body severed from the network. The synthetic hunters froze, their mechanical limbs locking up as the neural link disintegrated. One by one they toppled over, their systems shutting down without the guiding mind behind them. For a long moment there was silence, only the sound of rain pattering against metal and earth. Frank exhaled in disbelief. "It's over." Scout trotted back to Wesley's side, shaking the rain from his fur. The dog, unlike Reynolds' creations, remained steady, his instincts uncorrupted by ambition or artificial interference. "Yeah," Wesley murmured, lowering his rifle. "It's over." As the battlefield fell quiet, the truth was undeniable. The perfect hunter was not an engineered machine, nor a man who sought to become one. It was something born of experience.